I think my favorite thing in Harry Potter is Quidditch. But Mr. Weasley's car comes a close second.
Oh, his car is so fun.
Like,
it's
I don't know why. Maybe it's
character.
just because when I was really young and the second movie was like the one I watched the most, I wanted to own that car so bad, and it made me really sad when it was like, oh yeah, but it hasn't been built in years, and they're really rare, actually. And so good luck finding one. And it's like, okay. One day when I'm rich, I'm going to own Mr. Weasley's car. I believe it's a 1952 Ford Anglia.
Angula or Angular?
I think it's Anglia. Like Anglia or something. Anglia.
Cool. Anglia.
I'd especially want to own it if the magic of it made it so you didn't have to buy gas.
Oh yeah, you could just fly around or
even just drive around.
Yeah.
Drive around with no gas.
It lives in the forest to this day. As far
You
as
know,
we know,
that's something they didn't mention in the 7th book. How come the car didn't come and help save Hogwarts?
Yeah, it totally would have. It saved Harry and Ron twice. Let's see. It saved them twice in the book. In the movie, I think it only does it once.
I wouldn't be surprised if it like can sense evil, so it totally would have like ran over Death Eaters and stuff.
Or maybe it sided with the Death Eaters and Voldemort drove it up to the Hogwarts castle.
And with Harry in the trunk,
Oh,
he just
no.
pops over and is like, "There's your precious hero. I killed him, shoved him in the trunk of this old car." It's hard to do a Voldemort voice.
No, the car changes his entire perspective. He becomes like super pro Muggle. He's like, you know what? This car is really cool, and whoever
How
made
come
it.
we don't use these? Yo, more like when I take over the world, or
Honestly, he
I-
just wanted to
he-
become immortal. He didn't care about world domination. Let's see. He cared about never dying, and he didn't like muggles or mudbloods. Gasp. So, I suppose
you dare say the
I
M
dare
word.
say the M word.
Trends fade, style is eternal.
What? I don't understand.
He's got a stylish car, so
Oh.
he is immortal through his taste in fashion.
Okay.
Is that what that means?
Sure.
Now it does.
Well, as long as you're accurate, I guess. I'm not going to claim what a word means until I understand it.
Alright.
So what's your experience with Harry Potter? Like, what is your life story?
So I was born at the very end of the 20th century. So I believe it was already coming out. I think the first Harry Potter. When did that come out?
Ooh, 95 or 89. I keep getting it and Toy Story mixed up.
But yeah, so basically, some of the books were already out when I was very small. But I do remember the 6th and 7th book coming out, and it was one of the biggest things ever.
So 1997 is when the first book came out.
Oh, boy.
Okay, so the first book came out before I was born, but depending on when the other books came out, as I said, I don't remember the early books, but I do remember the movies coming out, and I remember the last 3 books roughly, mostly the 6th and 7th, because again, everyone's freaking out about Dumbledore dying. Spoilers, but come on, the series has been around forever, so if you haven't read these by now,
I don't know.
I'm not sure what to tell you. But no, I do remember all the hype about the 7th book and how it was the biggest thing ever, and it helped the local bookstore in town. Remember the
Man, I miss
YouTube?
Borders so much.
no.
Borders was the best.
Wait,
That's what. That's
did we
what
have a
they did.
Borders?
We used to.
Everyone used to
Yes,
have a
but I
Borders.
think-
Now Harry Potter's gone. It's gone. So
Oh,
sad.
no.
I think it was a Borders. I can't remember this. It was a big bookstore, but of course it was closing down. But when Harry Potter 7 came out, it was open for several more months because of how successful it was selling that book specifically. So I remember it stayed open a bit longer because of Harry Potter 7. And then once that died down, then the shop closed down and stuff. But and then for me, the audiobooks have been my primary form of
Consumption.
yeah. With Jim Dale as the reader, and just bloody fantastic, in my personal opinion, because I think he earned his world record at the time, because during the making of that he got Guinness Book of World Record
Oh,
holding.
yeah, like 55 voices or something.
I think it was over 100 or something crazy like that.
Whoa.
But yeah, so I just remember listening to them a lot, like in the car and stuff like that, and sneaking my mom's like DVD player cassette thing, the big boombox kind of thing.
Yeah.
I remember sneaking that into my room, and so I could use the headphones, so I could use earbuds to listen to it at night.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's how I listen. So I did I've read the books, I've actually read them at least 3 times from my memory. So I haven't but I've listened to them for at least once a year for almost a dozen, I can say, because then I was able to get them on MP3 player. So then I was able to listen to them whenever I want. So yeah, I listen to them at least once a year. So typically in a group of people, I listen to them. I have read/listened to them more than most, because I can say, I've done it at least 20 times, right? While most people are like, oh, I did it, once or twice.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure there could be some people.
No.
I've
done it once every month, so that would be 12 times a year.
Listen to it at 2 times speed.
Yeah.
I don't think you'd be able to enjoy it as good if it was sped up.
Yeah.
Obviously I put my videos at times 1.5 or times 2, depending on the content creator, but...
Part of me wants to hear the part where Aunt March goes, "Drunk, I expect," at half speed.
Just slow down. Drunk, I expect your parents died in a car crash. What a character.
There we go.
I'm glad my aunt is not like that. But yeah, so that was my experience with books. The movies, I remember we only owned the first 2 for when they first came out. We got them when they first came out and on DVD and stuff. And back then DVDs were really cool because they came in this fancy thing where it was there was it sometimes had 2 actual CDs had the movie and then special features, so it just had all this stuff.
Had little booklets where it had things you
Yeah, it
could
had a
buy.
little pamphlet in it that also
you
had
can
stuff.
get the staff of Lucius Malfoy.
They were typically the later ones I
Just
believe
really
were just
overpriced.
they were
Totally.
just more
But-
an advertisement for merch. But I think the first 2 I remember, they just had so much stuff in them, and even the third one, which is probably on the worst side of the movies, but it actually had a really great game.
Oh yeah,
it had that-
Oh, the
Crookshanks
Crookshanks ones. Where you had to chase the mouse?
There was that one, but I'm talking about the
Oh, that was-
Sir Cadogan
Cadogan?
one. The Sir Cadogan one.
The one where you go through.
Oh,
all the
okay, I
pages
remember that
and
one. I remember the cat one a bit more. I remember I could never win it, and it was frustrating, but I had the patience of a child back then, so...
But no, it was the Sir Cadogan one that I remember playing on repeat until I could get the highest
Oh yeah,
it-
because at the very end it was
yeah,
you are the Knight of the Realm. Or-
something like that. I just remember that it had different sword sizes for
Yeah.
how well you did. And obviously, the great sword was you did the best. Or the little dagger was you hit a lot of walls. I can't remember the gameplay. It was basically just reaction time where you had to
Pretty
click the
much.
arrows
Quick time
on the.
events. Those
Yeah.
are great.
But yeah, I just remember that was really fun, and it's that was one of the first video games I've ever played technically, because I didn't have a console when I was a kid. I had Harry Potter 3.
Man, where are the DVD mini games we have lost in Blu-rays? Where are the Blu-rays we have lost in streaming?
Oh, alas.
How is man supposed to fight against such hate? Anyway, but let's see. With the later movies, I was books were better, and but they were. I'll give the movies a okay. They're not terrible, even though I do think they're quite insufficient when it comes to enjoying the world and story of Harry Potter. The books are just the best way to do it. And so it's if you can't read because you don't have time and stuff like that, it's again, just listen to the audiobook. I will guarantee 90% of people will enjoy it. I'm not gonna say 100 because obviously, it's not a story for like everyone. People have their preferences, and so I could see some people like, it's just a story about a magic boy who has to defeat an evil dark lord because he has no nose or something. But no, for me, it is just really, it is just really the one of the like cornerstones of my childhood was Harry Potter. I remember being disappointed when at 11 nothing happened, and I was like, dang it. My older siblings were right. This isn't real. Also,
Oh no.
owls don't live around here. So I didn't have that hope either. but no, it's as I said, I listen to it at least once a year because it's just a really great story. The world is fantastic and the characters are great, especially since I remember kind of growing up with them in a way.
Yeah, I suppose you'd be the
And
perfect
it's just,
age group.
yes, I was a bit younger than the perfect age group, obviously, but but only by some years. But then I've enjoyed our other when she made the Tales of Beedle the Bard, that was really cool to be able to like read the stories that they talk about in like particularly the 7th book, and then when she did that specialty event to do the what does the title say of that?
Let's see. It's the classic books from the where's the back? Okay, let's see. Arranged 20% of the retail sales of the books to go to Harry's Books funds to help needy children. Comic Relief is the company that hosted this thing. Anyways,
But yeah, it's just the 2 books of the Quidditch Through the Ages and the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. I loved reading those for the first time, and I think this was peak extra Harry Potter content when these were coming out. And then The Cursed Child came out, and I remember I didn't even know it was coming out, but I believe it was my grandmother who got it for me, and so I was really excited. I was like, dang, another Harry Potter thing? It was like, I love Harry Potter, and now we have this whole book. Little did I realize that, so my grandma didn't know it was a play either. But yeah, I remember opening it and being confused because like, wait, this is like set up like a script. So, it says, enter stage left, Harry. Anyway.
That's not why it's bad, though.
No. So it's not bad because it's written as a play, right? It was just, I was a bit disappointed where it was like, I have to, because reading a play is a bit hard. At least I could see people like struggling to enjoy it in the same way.
Skill set.
Yeah, well, yeah, I just feel like, since plays are supposed to be watched and stuff, it's a bit weird to read a play and not watch a play. So that just annoyed me a little bit. It was like, okay, you could have made a play, and I would have watched it if it was near me, probably. But why didn't you just turn it into a book and make it so that it's very, efficient to read and stuff, and not like, 'cause I had to be in a completely different mindset almost to read a play.
Yeah, I disagree. I think if it was a good play, it would have been fun to read.
No. Like, I'm not saying I'm not saying that being a play is a problem. I'm just saying that I think it would have been a little better. So if the story was good, which it's not, we'll get to that later. But if the story was good, I still would probably hardly read it. Like, I haven't touched it in forever because
well, except that one time we went through it, it took us 4 hours to get through it.
yeah, it's just
Deep analysis.
Okay,
Only
we'll
read it
have to
once.
go through again because I'm so I've only read it once and a half because I started reading it and the story was kind of stinking and it was a play script, so I stopped reading it. And then I didn't believe you when you told me how it ended and stuff. Well,
yeah.
like, I believed you, but I was like, no way. And you did kind of just give me like the bullet points, and so I read it again, and then we went through it. We only went through like the middle section. I remember what were we doing at the time? We were doing something.
Doing laundry. I think.
Yeah, and you just kind of picked it up and started thumbing through it, and then we kind of just started reading through it together, and it took us 4 hours to get through like a couple pages or something. Like, you had forgotten a part and you couldn't believe it, and I couldn't believe what you were reading, so I was there reading with you, and we were just reacting to. It was the
Oh, was it the trolley?
it was the
witch
trolley witch,
who turns into an eldritch monster
Yeah.
creature.
the bird demon who apparently protects the train and keeps children from jumping off of it.
Apparently, children jump off of it often.
Well, probably all the Scottish kids, the Scottish Muggleborns, who their parents had to drive them down to London, so they had to drive a train all the way back up to Scotland.
no.
That's probably why those kids are just
Half of me wants to
"There's
say,
Uncle
obviously
Jim."
not. Obviously, that anyone who
What?
lived like within a certain mile radius would have been allowed to be brought to it. But since it's not stated in the books, we kind of have to accept that's a potential of how it worked.
No,
Where
as far as
Because
like,
of all the characters can we think of any characters that we know lived in Scotland
no, but
that they mentioned on the train?
as far as Chris Child goes, though, like, the Trolley Witch being an Eldritch Horror or Cedric Diggory
I don't
becoming a
know.
murderous psychopath. The thing that really
yeah.
takes me out of it is Voldemort having a daughter when he wasn't driving Mr. Weasley's car around, like picking up chicks. Like, hey,
That is true.
Yo,
Completely-
to
Completely
Do
unbelievable.
you fear death? Oh wait, no, that's the wrong one. He was just
Wrong
playing.
one.
no.
He did fear death.
But yeah, that's pretty much my like whole Harry Potter thing. Is I really enjoy it. I as I said, I'm mostly just a book nerd. I don't know, like, I'm sure there's like forums and like extra info out there that I haven't, but I'd be pretty decent in a trivia night. Like, I'd be able to, again, as long as it was from the books, I'll probably be able to answer. As long as it's from the main 7 books and a bit of Beetle the Bard, I'd probably be fine, right? But other stuff, I'll admit I'm not super aware of any like extra stuff outside of that. And with the movies, I watched the first 2 well, not a billion times, but many
bunch.
times. Again, they were the ones that we owned first. And so second one is my favorite, but only barely, because the first one is just really good too. Movie wise.
I just love how you've skipped the Fantastic Beasts movies like they don't exist.
So I was gonna get to that where
You
so
forgot.
actually basically half of me forgot and half of me was like, well, it's not Harry Potter, so I'm not gonna include it. But then I was like, but it is.
It's the wizarding world of Harry
It's the
Potter.
Wizarding World. So I guess the Fantastic Beasts, I've only watched the first 2, because there's 3,
when did
right?
you watch the second?
You weren't there. I remember that.
Yeah,
but
I wasn't.
I believe it was at a friend's house,
Oh, okay.
and well, the problem is, I'll have to watch all 3 if I ever want to like discuss them properly, because the first one I remember watching properly. The second one, I was doing homework at someone else's house. I think because was I doing homework or were we just doing his dishes?
Dishes or homework?
Dishes
Well,
and
Choose
homework.
your chore.
Well, I can't remember. It was such a long time ago because I absorbed so many movies because his parents would just like be watching stuff, and so I would just like watch a whatever movie they were watching, and like, but I would be like, we'd be like making Lego stop motion videos in the back living room, but we could still watch the movie and stuff. And so while we were sitting on minifigures, sometimes we just sit there and stare at whatever his parents were looking at. Anyway, but
Yeah, you haven't seen the third one though.
But I've only seen snippets of stuff from the third one, and so
Okay.
if I am to ever discuss those, I will have to watch them. But I will say I believe they are not very good from what I've heard, and so I will not watch them alone because it would be very boring, probably. Like, I just remember being disappointed when I heard about what they were.
I'm not
Because-
angry, just
I'm a little angry. Because it's like, come on, you could have done a better job. Why don't they know? I feel like I know Harry Potter enough that they should have me in an advisory role.
No.
was like- No. So, like, don't they have, like, when it comes to these big things, don't, like, movies have, like, a person who, like, wouldn't it make sense to have, like, a fan of it and be like, hey, so what do you think about this? And they could tell you if it's a kind of good idea or not a good idea.
Sorry, you're not British enough.
But I can be an advisor for the American market. I'm not going to claim, like, again, it's just like, hey, do you understand this, dumb American? And I'll be like, yeah.
Well, I didn't realize that the coin that he got in the first one was shaped like a hexagon or a pentagon until like 3 days ago.
Oh,
I
you
always
mean-
thought Ron was surprised it was round
You-
because
you mean-
I didn't know British coins look different.
But no, that is
fair
my overall like experience with Harry Potter. Love the books. Everything else is to and I am not sure what to think about the new things being made for the next couple of years.
Oh, the game, the Wizarding.
Oh, the video
one
game.
The
There
video
have been
game's
some
pretty
great
fun.
video games. But I guess
PS1, Sorcerer's Stone.
okay, I've never played that.
Oh, I
I've
did.
seen all
it
the
was
memes.
so freaking hard.
But no. So I guess the two big Harry Potter games I've ever played was
Oh,
no,
the
not
Quidditch one.
it was so there was the yes, there was a Quidditch game made in the early 2000s. Like it was actually a really good one. I think it was just called like World Cup Championship or something.
Yeah, because I remember you were the There come the Bulgarians, the Bulgarian ones. Yeah, you
Well,
had Victor Crumb.
It was
that
su-
guy.
yeah, it was such a cool yeah, I think it was. I'm not sure if it was made. Was it made after the fourth movie or before? I can't.
Well, it had to be made after because it had Victor Crumb and he
Well,
looked like the actor from.
Did he look like it?
I
It's
thought
been
he
so
did.
long. I can't remember, but I just
It
remember
has
it
to
was
be
really
after.
cool that you played in the the Quidditch Cup for the school because you chose a team and you got to play as those characters and it was great. Each team had their own special super move, which basically gave you a free point.
Oh, nice.
Well, actually, it would give you two free points. Except Gryffindor, for some reason, they only got one free point in their
because
special.
they're OP.
But that's because they're main characters, so I guess. But and then you could go to the World Cup, and you chose a World Cup team, and so you could choose. Like they had at least a dozen. They had America, Britain, Bulgaria.
Ireland.
I think they had Ireland.
They had to have Ireland.
they had
were
Ger-
in the World Cup in the
Well,
fourth
I
movie.
remember Germany and Russia. I think Russia was one. I think there was there a Japanese and Chinese or just a Chinese? I think there was at least one Asian one.
It has to be. There's a lot of Asian countries, so
Yeah, but it was like the game had again. They only had like maybe a dozen teams.
that is true.
But I remember one of them. So basically, on average, the super move that you could build up through the gameplay gave you 2 points.
Oh,
But there was one team that got 3. I think it was Germany.
oh gosh.
But I can't remember. But that was one of my favorite games to play when I was really young. And then it was a bit simple. So I really wish they would have just instead of making whatever this new Quidditch game is that came out a couple months ago, I wish they just remastered the original and just improved it.
Huh.
And then with Hogwarts Legacy, I'm gonna give it a okay to pretty good, like in the middle of that. Because it falls short on some things, but I think the gameplay wise, you feel like a wizard, shooting spells and running around and stuff. It's great. It's
Summon
really
your
enjoyable.
Thestral out of your pocket.
No, it's a magic bag, obviously. You have a magic bag.
What has it got in its bagginses?
But yeah. So Hogwarts Legacy story is passable. I would say it passed to like
It was intriguing.
allow you to interact with the world and stuff. They fell short in a couple of places, but again, it's passable, and I think it's pretty good. So if you're a Harry Potter fan, I would recommend it.
Nice.
I think it's a real. I enjoyed it. That's all I'll say. I enjoyed the game. Not a 10 out of 10, but I enjoyed it, and it's good enough that I plan on playing through it 3 more times, so I can get
all the houses.
yes, because I plan on doing all the houses, and I still need to get all the achievements.
Nice.
You can finish our evil Gryffindor run. It's so hard to be evil in that game.
Well, I will admit that, I guess it isn't super in-depth when it comes to, like, character choices. They're almost just
Yeah.
like, do you want to be nice or do you just want to be standoffish and
Well,
rude?
even the mean ones, it's just like, oh, I don't think that was a good idea. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't think it was actually the best of ideas, but you're okay. I love you.
No, well, it's like, I'm trying to think of one time when I was, like, I guess, potentially more jerkish, but, like, you help save a bird, and this woman's like, oh, thank you for saving this bird, can I keep it? But I was just like, you just like the bird because of its feathers. No, I'm gonna keep it and put it in my wildlife reserve. And she was just like, oh, well, you're just mean. I was like, deal with it.
You also like killed tons of poachers because poachers aren't people.
Apparently.
You turn them into barrels.
That's a gameplay thing, okay? It's like we have to accept that enemy NPCs aren't like since we're not given the option to attempt to de-escalate the situation, it's either attack or die.
Just kill the man.
But yeah, it is funny when it's like, what's like, well, how do the teachers react when, because they're with you in the final mission, and you straight up, by that time, if you go through the certain story path of learning Avada Kedavra, you can like straight up just kill like a bunch of goblins and no one will react like in any way. It's like, okay.
Oh no.
And yeah, it is funny to turn a man into an explosive barrel and then blow it up to take out his other friend. It's like, is he dead? Well, obviously
Pretty sure that's a
I
war
literally
crime.
blew him up. Oh, and this was in the 1890s. War crimes didn't exist.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
1890s. Okay, it's perfectly fine.
All the barrels.
The Geneva Convention was not around, so
Yeah,
therefore-
Grindelwald hadn't tried to stop World War II or whatever happened in that stupid movie.
But no,
Yeah.
that's me, and that's a rough telling of my Harry Potter story. So,
Yeah.
what about you?
Well, I remember it as one of the first books I read, that I read by myself. As you said, we listened to the whole series, or at least up to what the series held at the time.
And
We
we
listened to
all-
them every year until we had all 7 of them, and then we would listen to them all once a year. And anytime we went on a vacation, we usually had one of them with us.
Yes.
I think we listened to the third one the most because that's what our mom's favorite book is the third one.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's almost. So I think the third one might be my favorite book. With the for like so 1 and 2 pretty much even for me, and then the third one is just a bit more because it has. I just really enjoy the story because it has the Quidditch. It has the most Quidditch of any book.
Really? Oh yeah,
Well, it
does.
covers
it has
3
It
games.
has the world, not the World Cup.
No,
it has the fancy. You better beat him in the Quidditch Cup. Is it just the Quidditch Cup?
yeah. So the Quidditch Cup
Yeah.
happens, but the third one gives the most attention.
Yeah, because
to...
that's when she Hermione punches Malfoy and
Yes.
tells Harry that he better win.
So basically, like,
Anyways,
so in the other stories, the Quidditch is kind of like you could get rid of it, and you wouldn't really miss out on much. But in the third one, I believe the Quidditch is actually integral to the plot.
sure, but other things. So
I love Quidditch.
yeah, so I've read the books quite a lot, and yes, I can only read them in Jim Dale's voice because that is just how I know the characters. And I remember when, after all the books were said and done, I did go through a phase where I thought it was overrated. Everyone's talking about Harry Potter, and everyone's talking about how, oh, this character, I love this one, and I hate this one, or this, blah, blah, blah. And I was thinking, it's actually not that good of a book. And then I realized I don't have to be that way. I can love them if I want to. So I do. But it's also really interesting as I've grown up and learned more about storytelling, learned more about writing. I've seen. I appreciate the books more. I see some issues with them, but I don't think any of the issues are enough to ruin it. So I can see past the issues, and I can see the gem within.
Yeah, I guess in the future when discussing this, you do have to kind of talk about the elephant in the room, and that is the rolling plot holes. Where it's like there are some pretty darn big plot holes in the series. That where if you think about them too much, it's like, that doesn't quite make sense. However, it's a good thing that the story is so enjoyable that it doesn't I do think that there are some that you have to accept are just unexplainable. Some might be able to be explained with enough thought, but some of them I don't believe you can explain. And I'm trying to think of a specific, but
Why Harry's the only person to have survived a killing curse when I'm pretty sure there are plenty of people who love each other and have stepped in front of killing curses for their loved ones.
like that's a potential big one. Also, it's like, why does poverty exist in this world where you can create things out of nothing almost?
Well, I think there's that law
Gamp's law of
Yeah,
elemental
oh.
transfiguration.
Yeah, so that's for food. But as far as poverty
Well,
and
it's,
stuff,
but it's
goes,
like since you can,
it's not normal.
I just wonder like why things can't be charmed to just stay nice for
Because
like
you got the goblins that control the monetary system, and they make sure that wizards don't just generate gold.
Well, no, I
That's
don't mean
not
generate
true.
gold, but it's like I feel like secondhand robes. You shouldn't be able to tell are secondhand. Like you should like surely someone would have invented a charm to make things like new. And
Or Voldemort was just right when he was like taunting Ron, and that his mother doesn't actually care about him.
Yeah. Oh, she's.
I guess, is that
She's
worse?
a plot.
No,
hole. I
but-
mean, not a plot hole. She's.
no,
I
no.
don't know.
Again, it's just it's hard to be like, oh, the Weasleys are so important, but you got magic. Like, can't you just transfigure? Can't like sure. Can't they? Could they just take a bunch of boxes but transfigure them into a nice, great stone manor? It's like
I guess maybe I just don't understand exactly how the magic works because there might be limitations that we're just forgetting right now.
Just literally open a grocery store and stock your produce using Gamp's law of elemental transfiguration and just generate food. You don't have to pay for shipping. You don't have to pay for anything except for taxes and like property, rent or whatever.
yeah, because you can duplicate it once you have it.
Yeah.
So you feel like food storage wise, you should just be able to have a billion of everything.
Or maybe they're just really bad with money because he's like Mr. Weasley's got a government job, so he probably gets a lot of money and he just buys a bunch of weird Muggle stuff.
Oh,
Does he
no.
buy them? I thought he got them from
Uh.
from his job of like because obviously when he's going around like collecting Muggle things like
Wait, raiding 9 raids 9.
We keep interrupting though.
Oh yeah, so I suppose those are my thoughts. I really enjoy the series. I enjoy it as a reader. I enjoy it as someone who hopes to write stories myself one day.
well, you are a published poet,
Yes, when I was in the 5th grade.
so therefore you have more writing credibility than both of us.
Nice. Oh, I do think I think my favorite extracurricular book is the Fantastic Beasts book that J.K. Rowling wrote. That's it belongs to Harry. That one. I think that's my favorite.
It belongs in a museum.
Pretty much. What about you though?
Oh
What do you like?
boy.
Wait, what about the movie? What do you think about the movies?
Movies are pretty good up till like the 6th one, and then information just disappears, and so by the time the 7th one happens, Harry is jumping to conclusions. He leaps off a cliff to reach them, and it's like, how did you come to this? Where did you find this? And if you did not know the books, I think it would be extremely confusing. So, yeah, I definitely think the books are better. And as far as the games go, I play Lego Harry Potter, so but ours broke on the third book, so
Oh yeah, we
never got
played
past the 3rd level.
and we haven't gone
Yeah.
past that point either when I bought it on Steam.
Yep. So as far as the video games go, I am ambivalent.
Didn't you play that old Quidditch game at least once?
I think I ran into the goalposts because I'm very bad at video games.
No, you're good at things like grocery shopping and taxes. And, useful life stuff.
Yeah, Muggle things.
Well, let's see. Some of my absolute earliest memories, deepest childhood, were listening to my parents read me books on my brother's bed. Well, my brother was there also. That sounded weird. So, basically listening to, my mom would read us books, and one of the earliest ones would be Harry Potter. Now, it's sort of fuzzy because it's so long ago, but I remember for a time I was irritated with Harry Potter, and I think that had mostly to do with my older brothers were super into it, and it's like, well, obviously if they're into it, I can't be into it, so I'm like, I don't like it, as like a wee little lad. But in conjunction with that, they would listen to the cassette tapes, because I'm an old fart here. We had cassette tapes up to like the 4th one, I think.
Oh, gosh.
And the 4th one's cassette box was the size of a shoebox. It was crazy.
Oh yeah.
And so, yeah, they'd
I
listen to
think
the
a lot
cassette
of them
tapes,
have
and
CDs.
they would listen to them at night, because we would listen to the books, the Jim Dale ones, obviously, because wonderful, wonderful narrator. So they'd be listening to it, and we had these thin walls, and I would hear it, like, muffled, kind of like, it's like, oh, okay, this is keeping me up. I'm not happy about this. But I don't think it was ever like a detesting of it, because I do remember enjoying listening to it, and that is like kind of super early childhood memories, right? I think it was around the time the first movie came out, and we had to read the books before we were allowed to go watch the movie, and so I read through it, and I'm like, okay, cool, yeah.
That was a rule?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think. I think we just naturally read and listened to the books before we
We'd
watched
get
the
thrown
movies.
out on the street if we didn't read the book before we went to a movie.
Oh.
Goodness. So I had to read the book, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is cool. And then I go see the movie. I'm just like, whoa! It just like blew my mind. I'm like, this is the coolest thing in the world. My older brothers are like, yeah, don't you know that they put little rockets on the broomsticks so that they can film them flying around? And I'm like, wow, this CG. I didn't even think about it, but like, wow, this is so realistic. That's obviously how it looks. And looking back on it, I'm like, wow, it was.
Hey,
Really makes you think
the visual
about-
effects are pretty good for
No,
the
they're
time.
good, but you can tell it's not little rockets, and I was disappointed in myself, my childhood self, who was too silly to
Oh.
recognize CGI before I even knew what a computer was. Anyway, so yeah, we had that was kind of my experience. So around first movie, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is great, and so pretty much from that time forward, and even before that, we would pretty much listen to them on a loop as they were coming out. We had the cassette tapes, and eventually we scrounged together some money that the Weasleys can never get and got a CD player.
Oh.
And or we'd read it out loud to each other. It was always fun. And we get to the swear words, and it was always like, "Mom, no one gives a hey, don't say that." Okay, I can skip that word. Okay, yeah. So yeah, we're doing that, going through it, and so I get to the point where I can pretty much know them like the back of my hand. I know if someone were to grab a book, any of the books, and start reading within a few sentences, I would know the content, like what book it was in and the context of what was happening in it. I got to the point where there were trivia parties I'd go to. I'd basically get banned from any Harry Potter questions, or if they were Harry Potter themed, I'd be like, oh, I can do that, because I just cleaned house with it. I answered every question right. I knew where Uncle Vernon worked, Drunnings, they make drills. I knew every house elf named. I knew, oh, you're going to do it? Okay, yeah, you're just...
1 second. So for me, I thought it was, I don't know why, maybe it's because I listened to it mostly, but I always thought it was Grunnings.
Yeah.
But it could have just been like just the way he said it. So.
Whatever it was I won, I got a
Okay,
candy bar. I felt really
let me
proud
look
of
up
myself.
real quick.
But yeah, books, I adore the books. They have been just like a cornerstone of my life for as long as I can remember. Like I was saying, deepest childhood memories. And yeah, I remember waiting for, so the fourth one was out sort of before I was like seriously thinking about like, oh wait, we have to wait for more. And so I remember the fifth one coming out, and when I was young, I liked it. The fifth one was my favorite because I was an angsty child, and Harry was an angsty boy in that, and I am also a boy.
Oh.
Wait, no,
Or
it
was.
is Grunnings.
Oh wow, I should give
Mr.
that...
Dursley was the director of a film called Grunnings.
Oh dear,
Spelled with a G.
maybe I am a liar.
Oh,
No, I think
I need
that
to go
if
back to Chicago and
did
get
you
those
listen to it
people.
more, or did you?
Oh,
read
listen to it.
But I can see why you might think it's Drunnings, because again, it's just the way that letters and stuff slur. So you might, and like once you think of a certain way, that's what you hear every single time.
Yeah.
But yes, it's called Grunnings.
Cool.
Yep,
And
so
but I believe if you saying Drunnings at a trivia thing would still pretty much count except for it. I would count and be like, oh yeah, you're literally like one letter off, and it's very close.
So yeah, I'm way better at interrupting than actually talking about stuff. But yeah, books good, movies adequate. I feel like I've become a lot more appreciative of the movies recently. Watching them a few months ago, is like they're not better than the books, but I can appreciate them, and I think
I'll
As
need to
far
watch
as-
them again because I actually haven't really seen them for quite a while. So.
it's a weird feel because you remember all the irritating things like the lack of Dobby and the weird pronunciation of things like Dobby. Dobby, whatever, I don't care.
No, I think Accio is the most jarring one. I'm just like,
Accio,
Accio.
obviously.
Accio.
Yeah, so the I've become a bit more appreciative of them. I guess if we were going to talk about games, back as a wee lad, we had the PS1 Sorcerer's Stone, which is now the biggest meme in the world, but back then it was deadly serious, and like you're going through it, you're pulling levers, you're drinking potions, you're brewing stuff, you're doing all the doohickeys and whatsits, and the Quidditch sections were impossible, and that game was so hard because me and my brothers tried so hard to beat it, and I don't think we ever beat it. We got as far as the Devil's Snare, but that level was impossible. I think now it might be doable, but yeah, old games are nuts, and that was wild. as far as like the exterior media from the books and the movies and games, the Tales of Beetle the Bard was the only one I really read, and I thought it was charming. I remember not very much from it at all. I think I remember that the knight in the Fountain of Fair Fortune was a Muggle, and I thought that was cool because I'm a Muggle and I like seeing myself represented in media.
You take that back.
I take it back. As far as the Cursed Child goes, obviously you see this thing's like, oh, this is going to be the 8th Harry Potter story, and my brain's like, oh, 8th Harry Potter like book? Whoa, cool, that's neat. It's like, oh, it's a play? Oh, well, you know, I read Romeo and Juliet and all those things in high school. I can deal with this. And then we got it, and I was reading it, and by that time it was basically just me at home, and so I'm reading. And me and my mom were the only ones who were into it at that time, and so I was reading it, she was reading it, she kind of stopped, and I got to the point where it was revealed that Voldemort had a daughter, and I was like, oh no. And so I'm like, hey mom. She's like, what? It's like, do you want to read this book? She's like, no, I gotta go do yard work. And I'm like, do you want me to read it to you? I need someone to commiserate with. I didn't say that out loud, but it was in my head. And so I go out and she's trimming stuff and I'm like reading it out and I'm just like, oh, and she's like, oh, that's weird. Oh, wow, that's huh. And then they get to that part and she's like, what? Are you kidding me? And so I'm like, okay, good, I'm not insane. That was a very silly thing to have in the story. So yeah, I am not a huge fan of it. I think I only read through it 1.5, you can say, because I read the whole thing and then I read it out loud, the last half of it. Fantastic Beast movies. I saw the first one in theaters, thought it was very meh. I really think it's weird that like all magic people have like a weird demon living in them that like kills them if they don't do magic. That was unpleasant.
Does that only occur if one attempts to hide their magic?
Whatever it was dumb and I didn't like it. I really liked Jacob though, he was cool, and I wish that the entire movie was just about him and that he was the main character.
What's Jacob again?
He's the Muggle guy. Well, the No-Maj, which is worse than...
See, is like... Again, if you say the Muggle guy, I know exactly what you're talking about. But if you say character names, it's just like, I can't remember any of them. The only... I guess I know the main character, but it's not because he's a rememberable character. It's because he's based off of, like, you know...
Newton,
it's because he wrote a book that is in
the
series.
In the children's charity series.
Yeah, no,
Well,
I never
that,
read the children's charity
His book is
stuff.
also pretty, like, major... Well, I guess not major, but it's mentioned multiple times in the books.
Yes, and because it's Fantastic Beasts, naturally, the guy who wrote it is named after, you know, a salamander. Well,
Hey, salamanders are cool.
Well, no, he's a newt, but Scamander is that's like
Scamander.
German or something. It's not. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Yeah, so I like the series a lot. I like the ideas of it. I think the characters are what do it for me. I think there's a lot of issues with the plot, like we've talked about, and we'll talk about in the future. I think the world building, though enjoyable and really fun, has a lot of issues too. But I think the character interactions, especially in the book, how that's just the glue that holds it together. I really enjoy seeing these people move through the world and sort of face the struggles. As far as like impacts on myself beyond that, I too am also trying to dabble in writing. And when I was in high school, I wanted to be a writer. And even at that point, I could see the fingerprints of like the stylistic elements of Harry Potter, perhaps the misuse of adverbs or adjectives or whatever people keep going on about. You can tell. I think as far as Harry Potter goes, I've heard it said it's the millennials' Star Wars, and yeah, it pretty much has affected culture as much as that, if not more in some ways. And I'm really interested to see this HBO series. I keep being the optimistic one, even though it keeps blowing up in my face. I think it could be really cool.
I am not gonna judge until it's out, right? Like, but it's like, if I see things that cause worry, then I will be worried. And as of right now, it's just like, too many times have we seen the things we like get made, and it's like, we changed it for a modern audience. Like, no, okay? The reason, like, if you actually keep them like the books, which you say you're going to do, that's the whole reason you're making a TV show, is so you can do more stuff from the books, okay? Like, okay, the reason those books are so amazing and popular is because they were great stories with great characters that people could become attached to, no matter their background, right? I feel like my living circumstances did not really affect how I connected with the characters, because again, I'm not a magic wizard, I'm not British, I'm not Scottish either. Well, Got Scottish heritage. Does
That
that
explains
count?
a lot.
I got Scottish heritage, right?
No, that's irrelevant.
Depends on whether it's before or after Braveheart came out. So, yeah, I
I'm
think
pretty sure my Scottish heritage is before Braveheart came out.
yeah, I blame One Piece on it because I watched that live action one and it was so freaking cool and I loved it. And every other one that's come out after that, I'm like, well, it could be really cool. It could be like the One Piece one. It's not. Like the Avatar one was
Ugh.
pathetic.
But we'll see again. So we don't really have much. We don't even have a confirmed casting, and I think I might try to avoid like just knowing like what's going on. 'Cause I
So
think
that when
like
it comes out, you can
not to avoid like some sort of spoiler, like because you can't really spoil it. But I think I'm just going to try to enter. I want to watch it with as open mind as possible. But I will say that if so I'm guessing, are they going to do like one season as a book?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the goal, and I think that would be great. I think just like a few
Yeah.
chapters every episode, and you just get to
Yeah,
this.
because
that'd be great.
because obviously some. I'm wondering how they'll like balance how the books get longer as you go on, but I'm sure a talented person would be capable of it's like surely like the first couple seasons might be on the shorter side because obviously the books are smaller, and the later seasons will be longer, or maybe split into 2 seasons, I guess, for the.
I mean, they could
original
always have
books.
different numbers of episodes. I mean that, or they could combine books. I mean, they could have the first and second together. That would be weird. It'd be like the opposite of the movies. I guess I just don't want to see it dragged out, and I don't want to see it like just completely changed.
Well,
Like, I
that's
wanted
the
to-
benefit of it being a TV show, right? Is that they won't have to be like limited per se. But I do agree that I hope they don't like focus too much on certain things, because I hope they don't make up too much stuff.
Unless it's good. I feel like if they
Well,
made up
I feel
good
like
stuff,
expanding on like maybe add a couple extra classes, that would be kind of fun to see what they're learning about. Like
Professor Binns, the most boring.
like
teacher
that
in
could
class.
like the optimistic side would be very much looking forward to just like, what is a history of magic class like? And it would be funny if like again if it was like a running joke through the series where it would be like 10 minutes of it going on and all the students just struggling to stay awake.
All the
No,
Potter
that be a
fans
funny
are just
joke?
like, "Oh my goodness, this is pure gold.
This is so
amazing."
interesting. Look at all the lore. Like, wouldn't it be a fun, interesting way for like
Learn
diehard
more and
fans to
jump.
learn lore?
They're
like-
never gonna do it, but that
No,
would
they're
be so
never going to
cool.
do that. But that would have been a fun way to like into like again if as long as the lore was good and wasn't stupid like the tweets. Or we'll also have to talk about how
No.
do we believe in
Death of the
death of the author
100%.
somewhat?
Yeah.
100%.
So basically, this is my philosophy, right? I think an author can give insight to their story because they made it, right?
Yep.
However, that doesn't change what is in their story.
yeah.
So while I would like to be able to say, oh, if they say something cool and interesting and that actually works, like I'm trying to think of an example, but
Wizards vanishing their poop.
that's
Oh.
That's an example of something
That's so
bad, right?
stupid.
Where basically again it's like so basically something that makes sense, right? If they say, oh, I was thinking this when I wrote it, it's like, okay, that has helped me either think of a new interpretation of this part of the story or something, things like that, right? But when they go around and like, okay, this character is this, even when they aren't, wizards vanished their poop and didn't use toilets until the 1500s. No, okay, that's stupid. And
Wow.
just because you said it in a
harsh.
tweet does not make it canon, okay? Like,
Ezra Miller existed in the Harry Potter universe.
well, this is like what was it was in the books. It's
Ah.
like whenever it comes to lore and what is canon, you go by what is written, not what is inferred. Well, I guess you can have again different interpretations of what each event is.
I
you know?
think something
do you get what I
inferred from what is in the books is more, I would believe, canon than some like the author saying something.
Yeah, I'm doing a really bad job of. I'm just trying to say that we should only go off of what was written at the time and what exists in that, and not something that was just tweeted
Yeah,
20 years later. Because
because now it was exited.
again, it's like if you wanted to give me extra history, you should have written a book.
Called
And
A
have
History
you-
of Magic, which everybody's or been at, or wait, no, it was a Hogwarts
Oh, yeah,
Legacy, or
100
Hogwarts. Shoot, what is the book called?
What history of magic?
Hogwarts, a history.
Oh,
That's
Hogwarts
what
is
like
his- I would-
everyone's been wanting her to write for a million years. And
She wrote it with the same quality of the Wizarding World books, of the textbooks that she
Yeah.
I
wrote.
guess I just feel a lot less impressed with Hermione having read that when she was 11. It's like, oh, you read like a 20-page pamphlet? Okay, cool.
Well, obviously it couldn't be like real textbook size because remember this was for like a charity event and stuff. So
And it was geared for
But
small
again,
children.
you know, it's like I want to get like J.K. Rowling's like George Lucas, right? They made something really, really great, but for some reason later on they decided to try to go back and change things which don't need to be changed, and they should accept that what they did exists and to not to try to convince us otherwise.
Yeah, look.
That is
great.
why I'm nervous about her being. It's like like usually when a TV show is being made about something and they have the author involved, it's like, oh, that's good. That means the author will be able to check the TV writers and make sure that they're faithful to the story. But since she has shown to want to change things, I'm worried that she's going to okay changes.
Yeah, probably, but I mean, having the creator it does help a lot. I mean, that's the thing with that One Piece one is the guy who's wrote One Piece for like the last however long it's been out. He was sort of on the set all the time and basically stopped Netflix from making Cowboy Bebop, the live action one.
But no, yeah, that's my 2 cents. Is that I'm just going to be optimistically worried. No,
Optimistically worried.
well, it's like I'm
Yes.
worried, but
Concerned.
I am willing to. Again, I'm going to give at least the first season a full watch. Like I don't care if I don't like it at first. I'm going to give the first season a watch to give it a proper viewing. I'm not going to be like, oh, this is stupid, and just turn it off because
I don't know.
well-
3 episodes are usually enough.
I think you're right. I got 50-50. I want to give it a chance. And, like, as long as it can recapture the same magic that the first movie did, they should be fine. I'm not expecting perfection, because nothing's perfect. It would be weirder. Well, actually, can it be perfect? Like,
I think perfection's possible.
well,
That's
I'm
tough.
not quite sure what perfection would be like.
It
I
would
don't
be
know.
like a movie or book that is practically perfect except for one plot hole or one inconsistency, and then that
Do you
error
think that
having
could
been
be a-
fixed before it was published.
Do you think that could be
Oh,
like a potential like positive to a TV show remake, right?
Well, that's what I was saying about the Avatar one. Is like it could fix things that I found a little off about the
The
animated
Last
Avatar.
Airbender,
Yeah,
Netflix.
because I'm like, oh, it could have been. You know,
TV show.
they could change
Yeah.
some of these things.
Okay.
They could make this a little better. And then we watched the first episode, and it's like, why is Firelord Sozin the first real character from the show that we are interacting with? And from there, it was just downhill. It was dramatically.
I'm
unpleasant.
wondering if like it's a potential that they could address some of the plot holes, like again with like extra lore stuff. Maybe we can drop a few more lines on how transfiguration and stuff works. So again, I feel like maybe they could address some of the less story centered and more of just the world plot holes.
Yeah.
Because I think this is a discussion for a different time.
Yeah.
Like, so which of like, I feel like a discussion has to be given to just plot holes alone.
Yeah, our biggest issues and what we do to fix them, because that would be a lot of fun.
Yes, agreed. But yeah, I'm worried, but I'm willing. I'm planning to give it a shot,
I'm
and
excited.
I don't want to judge too much on just what I hear and things. Right? So
yeah.
I will say this: no matter what happens, no matter how bad it seems to get or how good it seems to be, I like your idea of I will guarantee the show 3 episodes. I will watch 3 episodes, and if you're good, you're good, and if you're bad, I won't watch you. But I will also accept that since this is a plan for multiple seasons, and therefore they're going to be covering multiple books, and depending on how they make it, they might learn early on. Like again, I'm not sure how it's being made, but like it's possible that they can as they're making something and releasing like the first season, right? That obviously the last season isn't going to be done, right? Because again, the characters actually have to physically age up. That's what's going to be really interesting. Is that they're following a story that they'll almost have to wait for certain characters to be a certain age. But I think that's a good thing because that can give people the ability to watch the reaction of the viewer and improve.
Actually,
right?
wouldn't the opposite be true, where they have to make them before the actors outgrow the role?
Well, no, that's so. But obviously they'll be doing that, right?
I don't
Yeah,
know. how
or they
television
do the
works.
thing where they pick a Neville and like he's perfect for the first few books, and then he turns into like handsome Squidward in the last movie.
If you say so.
If you say so.
Oh come on, Neville
No,
is
I'm just
very
saying that
attractive
obviously-
gentleman in the seventh one.
Obviously, they won't be able to make them just all in one
Okay.
go, right?
I believe you.
Like there'll be a downtime between seasons. Well, there'll be downtime between the creation of seasons.
Well, that's how British TV shows are made. They're made with a year in between.
No, American ones do that
Aren't they?
too.
It depends.
Ah.
Well, with all the streaming
I'm just saying
nonsense,
that-
they'll drop everything at once that they've spent months working on or whatever. And then,
I'm just
like,
saying that I
oh,
might be willing
dumb.
to at least give like again, if I don't like the first season, I'm still going to be willing to watch the second season because it's possible that they can again if I was a smart person, right, who had a big company that was making a TV show, I would try to gauge how people are reacting and change, and perhaps attempt to change things because again, the Sonic. The 3D, so the live action Sonic.
Looking like that little rat creature.
No, so
No, it's Peter
3D
Pettigrew
Sonic
and
is a perfect
Scabbers.
example
Looks
Oh,
like
no.
Sonic.
studio. So 3D Sonic, the original 3D Sonic, was a perfect example of how of a bad decision that was kind of obvious, and we're not sure why they chose it, but they were like, oh no, this does suck. Let's fix it, and so they changed it, and it has made it 100% better. So you have to give them credit is that they did the right thing.
Yeah.
Listen to their consumers, and
Now they're making a third one with Keanu Reeves.
and I've only
What's
watched
his
the
name?
first
Shadow.
one.
Oh,
I need to watch the
Keanu
first one again.
Reeves?
I remember enjoying that. I've never watched the second one.
I've never watched any.
The first one's okay.
I just want to see Peeves now look exactly like the original Sonic. Just
Oh,
this
no.
little creature, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, you have to change that," and then they do, and like I don't even know, like,
I kind of want him
The-
to look like his little picture in the book
oh yeah, I guess
because
so
he's
the
a chapter
Peeves,
header.
the
picture.
Peeves in the Sorcerer's Stone PS1 was really weird looking. I'm like, who is this supposed to be? Oh, that's Peeves. What? I don't know if I feel like there's so little.
I think the Peeves in
He's got
Hogwarts
like a
Legacy
little
is
hat
okay.
or something, right? Oh, what? I've never seen him in that.
Oh yeah, when you're running around the castle, you can sometimes see him. He is a story. He's part of a story plot where
Oh,
when you
dear.
have to sneak into the library,
Oh,
he actually
yeah.
catches you and the friend you're with, the Slytherin guy.
Oh wait, I think I remember that. Maybe I don't know.
Anyway,
the
you see
Peeves in
and I remember Peeves looked okay.
the Peeves in the PS1, you have to like race him through the like attic or something, chasing jelly beans because Bertie Bott's every flavored beans are like the bee's knees, and everyone. Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he looks exactly like that, that would be cool. But if he has like
Oh.
Sonic's face on him,
Oh.
we need to
No.
edit that and make it a thumbnail. That would be great.
Okay.
Yeah, so optimistic, and you know what? I think regardless of how bad it is, like the absolute worst thing you can possibly imagine happening to Harry Potter, other than the Cursed Child, the books are still there, the movies are still there, and they can still be enjoyed, and that's why I believe in the death of the author and the death of like it's like you don't have to be like, oh well, now this TV show is out, this is the only version of Harry Potter that exists, like all the
I think
Disney
I will
remakes,
always
it's-
default to the books.
Yeah,
Again,
it's-
if
it's-
you want to enjoy Harry Potter, I'm always going to recommend the books first.
Yeah, the books will say, I mean, what is it? The most sold products in human history. You got like the iPhone, the Harry Potter books, and
The Bible.
like no, well, yeah, the Bible. But as far as books go, but then like the Rubik's Cube, I think those three things are the most sold products in human history, which is pretty interesting. And it really shows that the books.
airline tickets.
That's not a product. That's it's a service. It's different.
Uh,
So yeah, but it's just it goes to show
Tickets
that
to Endgame.
that's also a service.
Yeah, but we were just talking about things that people bought a lot of, right?
And people bought way more. Harry Potter is just
No, no,
it's-
obviously.
So far, it stood the test of time. I mean, like this is a thing that is going to be a part of like, children's literature for a long time. This is like it's clearly embedded itself the way like, the
I
Big
think it's
Friendly
earned that.
Giant, the Dr. Seuss. I mean, obviously it's the different. I'm trying to think of like children's literature, like Narnia, stuff like that. It's just this
I
is the
think
kind
this
of
is
stuff
better
that
than
is.
Narnia. It's not as confusing.
Narnia is pretty weird, but the point is
This
that
one's way more satisfying to like go through.
I can imagine just, reading this to my son. I can imagine him reading it to his kids. And, this is a thing that's going to be around for a while.
I'm
I think
excited
it's
to
there.
reread the series so that we can discuss it.
Yeah, so maybe...
Luckily, I've already done that. I finished the series again, a couple months ago, so...
Couple months ago.
Well, if we want to kind of wrap this up, what are our plans then? What kind of things are we going to do in this here conversational doohickey thing?
Well, we're not only going to talk about Harry Potter, but I believe that there's there's 7 books to talk about alone, and then
And
there's
8 movies.
No.
and 8 movies and stuff. We will definitely go through The Cursed Child because that's just a meme of a mess.
I
Like
might throw up a little
it's
bit.
enjoyable when you're laughing at it, but it's like when I was first again, I was sad when I first was just disappointed. I was like, oh wow, this kind of sucks.
Didn't you want to know that Harry Potter listened to his parents dying?
Oh, that's...
Did
Yeah.
you
You
know
don't remember
he had
that
the
part?
blanket he was wrapped in when he was left on the doorstep of the Dursleys?
Do you know that his son is the absolute worst?
Did you know that Crookshanks was the cat mentioned in the 7th book?
Wait, what?
Wait, what?
Nagini was a woman
What?
with
Oh,
the blood
so
disease.
yeah, we'll have an
You're just
entire
saying things
we'll have an
now.
No,
entire
all those
discussion
things that could
for
be.
the Cursed Child, and I
Death
think
of the
we
Uncle.
can also have we'll have to talk about
Little
the
Bagman.
we'll have to talk about the
He's crazy,
Fantastic
that's
Beasts
why.
movies and how those I'm surprised
Yeah, I'll have to see Grindelwald smoking a skull and trying to stop World War II or whatever. That's
yes,
going to be fun.
we're going to have to watch those and talk about it because it cannot be ignored.
Mhm.
It is sadly a part of the expanse.
It cannot be ignored, but it can be disregarded. That should be our slogan.
Yes, when it comes to the main books, I can easily just say you don't need to watch the movies, right? But for us, we're obviously gonna watch them and discuss them and be like, so why when trying to because like other big franchises, that they have their ups and downs in popularity, right? So for a while, Harry Potter was back up there because these Fantastic Beasts movies were coming out. But I guess luckily they weren't so bad that people decided we couldn't make anything. Because again, I remember the first one was meh to eh.
The bird cried on
wasn't-
them, and they all got their memory back, or lost
No,
it.
all the Muggles lost their memories
Oh.
because of a giant bird.
Well,
Thing.
it made a storm, and it took the potion into the storm, and that spread the potion.
Were,
Oh,
the,
it
were,
had
the,
a
were
potion.
the Olympian gods living in the Empire State Building at this point, or were they still in England? Because that was it was before World War II.
Yeah, because the movies take place between the before World War II but after World War One, so 1930s. Okay,
Yeah,
but
anyhow.
again, these
So-
are old discussions for another day.
Chatting, it's fun to chat, and we thought we'd just record it and let the peoples of the interwebs listen to our waffle.
Mm-hmm.
And what a glorious waffle it is.
Hopefully there's syrup.
Let me find a stupid line to end on in The Cursed Child.
Okay, so while you look for that, I'm going to prepare to stop this wonderful amount of dispository.
Albus, this is Godric's Hollow? Scorpius, your dad's never taken you? Albus, no, he tried a few times, but I refused.